Okay, I'll be the first person to admit that first part sucked! I wasn't happy with it at all! I'm much more pleased with this second part though, so let's get going! Kirby, what's with Wispy Woods? Why is he everywhere you go? Any Kirby fan can tell you that the one recurring issue with the series, of the few problems that there are with the series, is the first boss. And yes, I did say first boss, because almost every single time it is Wispy Woods. And why is that a problem? Because he is a total joke! He just stands in one place, takes up the entire height of the screen, and just acts as a punching bag. Not to mention, his attacks are just pathetic. Those days are mostly over. Thank God. If we had kept on getting this for the past 25 years, he would have been very stale by now. One of the worst boss characters ever, I bet you. In recent years though, Wispy has been getting some much needed improvements to his battle strategy, with varying degrees of success. But how, I ask, can you make top 3 first bosses good of one of the most mocked boss fights ever? One word. Mechanization. This is not a total 180 in quality. This is a 720 on a turntable going so fast that it throws you right back off and leaves you completely speechless. The robotic invasion of Planet Popstar has turned Wispy Woods into a mechanical monster. And what a fight he puts up, huh? All of the mechanics and aspects that made up a Wispy Woods boss fight have been thrown out the window and replaced with all new concepts. Drilling the ground, throwing nuts and bolts, firing rockets, turbo blazing, dropping his metal foliage like bombs, and even straight up power jumping around the joint. Wispy Woods, or Clok-Roo Woods as he's known in this game, goes from being a boring first boss into a breathtaking spectacle that showcases what the Holtzman Corporation is capable of. This is not just a great first boss from a gameplay point of view, but an amazing introduction into what the game's antagonist can do. Taking one of the easiest first bosses in gaming history and flipping it on its head? I don't really need to say much else except this is the fight good old Wispy Woods needed. I'm not going to say anything. I'll let the boss say it all.
Oh, Cooper, you've climbed so high, and now you're gonna fall!
Yes! Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time. I love this game! While I now struggle to call this my favorite platformer game, or even my third favorite video game, I still love this game to bits! Still waiting on that sequel. And waiting. And waiting. And waiting. And wait. This game doesn't waste time getting built up. It just throws you right into the thick of it from the start. And it's no different with the first boss against El Jefe. As far as spectacle and grandeur go, El Jefe is by far the most grand today. I go so far as to argue that he's the grandest of them all. I mean, have you ever seen a boss this striking before? I guess I asked for it. Well, he's the best at it on this list at least. The fight against El Jefe is divided into multiple parts, usually broken up with platforming segments where he will launch fireballs at you to knock you off. Once you reach him, he will surround himself with a ring of fire before lashing out with his dual katanas with the powers of both fire and electricity. It's the world of Sly Cooper, don't question it. With varying attacks including summoning a wall of flame, creating barriers of lightning, and dropping electrical orbs, he can certainly keep you on your toes. The fight also makes good use of the samurai armor you gained earlier in the episode. You'll be constantly switching between the armor and normal play to avoid everything El Jefe throws at you. And when he decides to launch a giant fireball attack at you, that's your cue to swap into the armor and knock it back at him to stun him, so you can go in and knock him about. After enough conflict, El Jefe will run away and make Sly's approach to him even more difficult and challenging, before upping the ante and making himself a tougher opponent. After this is done enough times, he's done and dusted. I'll be blunt with this one. This fight never drops at any point. It just continues to grow and grow on the epic scale, and it becomes more and more fun the longer it goes on. I can't express any more than I have already how fantastic this first boss is. In fact, it's just a fantastic boss in general, not just as a first boss. You know you set the bar high when you make a boss this good. Also, one last note. He's voiced by the legendary Nolan North. I feel like there's a joke to be made somewhere in there involving one of his many other characters, but I can't work it out for the life of me.
Can I borrow $50?
No!
Impossible.
The Ratchet & Clank series has a pretty shaky run when it comes to boss fights. On the one hand, they can be awesome! On the other hand, they can be shonky. It's kind of like Insomniac Games don't know how to make a boss fight, so they just wing it and hope for the best. You know, given their previous attempts with Spyro the Dragon, that doesn't surprise me. But we want the good stuff here, and where do we find good first bosses in this series again? Well, definitely not here. Or here. Or here. Oh dear God, no! Is there even one good first boss in this series?
Come on, little furry man. Time to die.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay, setup. The challenge is to take control of the Dark Cathedral of Kronos. Easy, right?
Nope.
Shellshock's objective in return is to stop Ratchet from completing his mission. That and it's more a hobby than a job for him to blast apart anyone. But before the main fight itself, you get the chance to take him on in 2 smaller battles as you prepare to make your way towards the goal. These fights do a good job of acclimating you as the player to his attacks. Have you noticed a common theme among these bosses? Before the fight itself inside the cathedral unleashes the full spectrum of what he can do all at once. This is a boss that takes place throughout the cathedral as you attempt to shut down the force fields and take control of the building. At certain intervals, Shellshock will enter the play to unleash a full onslaught of carnage. Firing his blaster, dropping bouncer bombers, launching an array of raining missiles, and a ground pound attack. Shellshock doesn't mess around, and he knows when to retreat. But at no point does fighting him ever feel like a chore or get repetitive. He doesn't actually have a great lot of health, so his retreating and popping up all the time never becomes groan-worthy. If anything, you just get more and more pumped to fight him again every time, because you know he is gonna put up his jukes and punish you. In a completely fair sense though. Nah, I'm kidding. Anyone that has faced him on exterminated difficulty from scratch can tell you how tough he is. Shellshock is the best example I can think of for a first boss that can both acclimate yourself for the struggle ahead while still putting up a fight. He makes you work for your challenge. He'll punish you for being careless and reckless first times around, making the fight against him a real test of your skills in this game at this early point. This is Dread Zone. Survival of the fittest is not key, it is essential. And that's why he is my favorite first boss in video games. Can you blame me for calling this one of my outright favorite boss fights? Didn't think so. I'm the primordial Clok-Roo, signing out.